my family's conversion to Orthodox Christianity. We've left our home in America. We're trying to learn this very difficult language. Our first week here, it drops down to minus 35 Celsius. Coldest Christmas in Russia in 120 years. We didn't know yet how we were even going to immigrate. We just came as tourists and just said, we're going to figure it out. I think it started out not as, researching some place to move or even knowing a lot about Russia. It started with really a couple things. One was our conversion, my family's conversion to Orthodox Christianity. The other half is just, the sadness with which I've seen the decay, the moral decay in America over the past, decade plus. In many different ways, many different things I've not been happy with. But one of the biggest that just really, in a negative way, struck a chord with me was this whole idea of, homosexual marriage. They were determined to redefine what marriage actually means. We just started looking, and I considered, some countries in South America. I looked at various countries in Europe. A couple things that were really important to my wife and to me was that, wherever we move needs to have legal homeschooling. Now, people want to send their kids to public school or a private school, that's fine, but we've always homeschooled our children. That's the way we want to go, so we wanted to keep doing that. That really narrowed things down because there's not a lot of countries where homosexual marriage is not recognized, civil unions are not recognized, and at the same time, homeschooling is legal. And so that, brought us down to a short list. I came here again. The third time I flew here, my wife and I decided we're moving, we're going. And came to the Rostov-Veliki area, not Rostov-on-Don, but Rostov-Veliki, which is about a 3-hour drive north of Moscow. Fell in love with the place. It's a city that is more than 1,100 years old, which is just mind-boggling to me. In America, if you can find a 200-year-old building, it's like this ancient artifact. And they have pubs and dachas here that are far older than that. There's literally 5 Orthodox Christian monasteries just in the city limits of Rostov. Now there's more outside it, but just in the city limits of this little city of 30,000 people, there's 5 Orthodox Christian monasteries. That's more than there are in Texas. Texas, which is where I lived 24 years of my life, which I love, has 4 Orthodox monasteries in the whole state. And it's a state that's huge. It's the size of France. I've always been not the city mouse, but the country mouse. I like to be out where there's trees and land. And so I needed a place that had civilization, grocery stores, gas stations, but was far away from the big city. If I need to hop in a car and drive down the interstate, down to Moscow, I can do it, no big deal. I can drive 1 hour up to Yaroslavl, more than 500,000 people. Any stores I need, they're there. But just for my day-to-day life, I like the slow pace. I like, living on an acre of land, having a tractor, planting a garden, and just being able to live our lives quietly and in peace. We're in America. We had several acres of land and about a 2,000 square foot house. Now we have 1 acre of land and a 1,700 square foot house. So it's not bad. So yeah, you don't see a lot of 2-car garages in rural Russia. Yeah. But I'm a spoiled American. I wanted to
have the real thing.
Well, now here's the deal. We actually tried it the other way. We own 2 cars. Yeah. There's 10 of us in the family. A car doesn't hold 10 people, so we have 2 cars. Yeah. And we've spent the last few Russian winters realizing that in Russia, winter is not something that happens for a couple of weeks and you deal with it. Yeah,
it's months.
They do winter professionally here. Yeah, and so literally months of scraping ice, brushing snow
speaking
off.
of professional, I just wanted to say, yeah, this is
it's a real deal.
Not too useful in Illinois or Texas, right. That's for sure.
That's the real deal.
Wow.
proof that we're in rural Russia, but that we're here in the 21st century.
Yeah.
You look and it just looks like this normal Russian dacha and stuff, but then you see this 2-car garage with electric garage door. Well, here is this old building. They started building with logs, finished out with some older wood siding. It's been sitting here for years. Yeah. And then here's this giant, like a satellite dish, you know?
Yeah.
And that's because instead of turning this into a banya/sauna, I turned this into my office. This is where I teach a lot of my English lessons online via Zoom. Yeah. And so I have a separate high-speed internet connection to my office.
Yeah, wow. It is like working in a banya. That is great.
Yeah, so it's just this wonderful little wood room. I've got a couch out here, a small library, little fridge with some Cokes in it. Printer. I set up my laptop over here on this big old homemade desk. We've got the high-speed internet coming in. Yeah. And I just, sit here in this easy chair, chill, teaching kids English. Yeah. And I really enjoy it. It's peaceful out here. Oh, and here's the greenhouses. You can see I have 3 over here. And, they're pretty big greenhouses. And it's just a really great place to...
Were those here before, or did you put those up?
We added those. And so it's just great. Here, this, spring gets going late. Where in America, maybe you're planting stuff in March or April. Here, you don't really want to plant stuff till May. Yeah. But with this, it warms everything up a little earlier and it goes a little later. So you can actually start growing stuff there in April. You can keep it growing past September, October.
And again, talking about Russian stereotypes. Wow, it's a Belarus tractor. Yeah. That's great. Oh, did you put the racing on there?
No, that's how it came, believe it or not. Got in Yaroslavl.
Yeah.
It's got the big lights on it. And,
that's great.
Nice souped up racing tractor. So in America, we had really low taxes. We were out in the country. Yeah. I had a country house, several acres of land, and it was still, we were still paying like over $1,000 a year in taxes. Yeah. But that's low. My sister, other people I know, they're paying $5,000, $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 American dollars every year just on real estate taxes. I mean, on property taxes. Well, here it's amazing. Every year, I've got this house. I've got an acre of land. And every year I pay less than $50 for the whole year for the property taxes.
Yeah, I paid $8 this year.
Yeah, it's almost nothing. Yeah. It's just mind-blowing. So technically, yes, there's property taxes here, but
it's very nominal.
Exactly. That first year was very tough. It was made even tougher because, I don't know, a month, 2 months after we got here, I was diagnosed with a certain form of cancer. And so, throw everything together. We've left our home in America. We've come to a new place. We're trying to learn this very difficult language. Our first week here, it drops down to minus 35 Celsius, which is very unusual. It usually does not get that cold here. It did the first week we were here. Coldest Christmas in Russia in 120 years. And a lot of frustrations, a lot of difficulties. We didn't know yet how we were even going to immigrate. We just came as tourists and just said, we're going to figure it out. You're already carrying this massive load. You're already just barely able to walk. And then, let's throw cancer on top of that. So instead of doing what I was planning on doing, that first summer, I was hoping to drive my family all over Russia and show them the beauties of St. Petersburg and the beauties of Moscow, these amazing cathedrals and monasteries, and just the beautiful landscapes across Russia, and the trees and the ponds and the rivers. Instead, my wife, not speaking Russian, and our 8 children, not speaking Russian, had to be stuck in that apartment in Rostov while I was 3 hours away in Moscow throwing my guts up on chemotherapy. That stank. It was bad. Thankfully, now that we are, permanent residents of Russia, most medical care that we get is free. We don't have to pay for it. But, even if for a short period of time, if you do have to pay for it, and even if you get hit with something major, like cancer and surgery and chemotherapy, it would break your back in America versus here, it's just a pain, but it's doable. For the surgery and the 3-week hospital stay, I paid a total of, I'd say, less than $1,500. Out of pocket, 100%. While in America, I was a computer engineer for 20 years, close to 20 years. And so our income came from the computer work that I did. And then I basically was a priest for free. The bishop did ordain me as a deacon and then as a priest. And I served as a priest in America, but I was not getting paid for this. Most of what I do now is teach English. That's how we feed our family. And, so the church, the Russian Orthodox Church hasn't sent me any money, even to this day. They've warmly accepted me, but, even in Russia, if you want to make money as a priest, you're going to have to find a big enough congregation that's going to be able to support you. You can't go out in the middle of nowhere, a small church of maybe 15 or 20 people, and expect them to be able to support, a family of 10. And so, perhaps if I lived in Moscow, then they could put me in a church where it would be feasible for that to be my only job. But out here, we're basically doing the same thing that we did in America. I have a source of income, there's work that I do, but as a priest, I'm not doing it for the money. I'm doing it because I have faith in Christ, and this is how I want to serve God. I've got a bunch of students. I have dozens, maybe around 40 students currently that I teach just online via Zoom. And then there's nearly 100 kids in the 10th and 11th grade boarding school at Varnitsky Monastery, where I teach them sometimes online, and sometimes I go there and I teach them face to face. Well, like I said, Rostov-Veliki, population about 30,000 people. There are 5 incredible Orthodox Christian monasteries, and this is one of them. This is Varnitsky Monastery, and this is surprising to a lot of people. It's actually the birthplace of St. Sergius of Radonezh.
Oh, I see. That's our patron saint of this podcast, and patron saint of much more. I didn't even know he was born here.
Yeah. He when he was a little older, his family moved to Radonezh, but he was actually born right here. In fact, his parents, the icons on each side of the archway right there, Saints Kirill and Maria are his parents. And so anyway, on the right here, see this big red cathedral here?
Yeah.
That big red church, that's approximately where their house was 700 years ago.
Oh.
So I don't know how they keep track of that, but I'm impressed. They have an incredible Orthodox Christian school here. So here in Rostov, you can go to public school, you can homeschool, or you can send your kids to the Orthodox school here, which is free of charge. They don't charge for it. And the final 2 grades of high school, 10th grade and 11th grade, is a world-class boarding school for boys. It's unbelievable. They send boys here from all over the country. They test, the best ones get to stay here. And it's almost like a prep school. A lot of the boys that complete their studies here end up going straight into seminary and going through flying colors. A number of them are already clergy in the church now. And so for those 2 grades, 10th grade and 11th grade for the boarding school, I come here and I teach English. Nearly 100 students. We have this interview, we're going to talk and talk, but however many hours we talk and you piece it together, it's still just going to be a fraction of what we've got to experience over the past several years. Just soaking in Russia, just realizing what a gem this really is. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. If you want to find some negative things here, you'll find them. Of course, friends, relatives, people back home were just terrified. They just thought, you're crazy, you're nuts. Don't you know that Russia is terrifying, that Russia's scary? I'm afraid, something's bad going to happen. So I started taking photos. I just, go to a gas station. I go through a grocery store and take pictures and just simple, normal, everyday things. And I would get this amazing response from people online. People would write back to me and say, oh my goodness, the grocery stores are full of food. That's what they're for. They're full of food. But people have this idea that it's still the 70s or the 80s. But that's where I decided, the website that I am editor on, Russian Faith, a lot of what we try to do there is just tell the people truth about simple things in Russia. It doesn't have to be out of this world, just showing people churches, showing people community gatherings, showing people Russian food. Things that are just mundane and everyday are still amazing to Americans because they start to realize, hey, Russia, there's like normal people in Russia. There's husbands and wives and children, and they have schools and playgrounds and good tasting food and really good music and beautiful dresses for the women and folk singing. And so to me, it's kind of been my own little tiny, I don't want to say missionary project because that has too many connotations, but I really just want to show people that Russia's a good place. Yeah, we like tripled the population of the village when we moved in. So.
Oh yeah, I guess you did. Wow, I didn't think about that.